All right, we call to order the Baker County Land Planning Agency meeting for Thursday, March 13th, 2025, at 6 p.m. If y'all could just join us for prayer and pledge of allegiance, please. Dear God in heaven, thank you for this day and the beauty of it. May we understand and get outside and enjoy the sunshine and the niceness of the weather and everything else. Thanks for bringing us through the winter and bringing us into the joy of spring. I ask also, God, that you watch over us, give us guidance, wisdom, and humility to have discussions with one another, both at a local level, at a state, and at a national level. We've gone through a lot of stuff right now, just asking for your wisdom and your guiding hand to make America the greatest country that we are. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everyone. All right, so for public comments, if anybody is here to talk on any of the agenda items, there's some sign-up sheets back there. Please make sure you fill that out. When you come forward, just come up to the podium, announce your name, your address, and you can turn in the speaker card to Miss Julie. And is there anything here that people are here to talk about beyond the agenda, beyond the applications that we have? Is there any other business? Because we don't have anything on the agenda, but wanted to give you a shot that if there's something you want to talk about, we could take it up at the end of the meeting or get it scheduled for the next meeting. Okay? Hearing nothing, let's move along. All right, so back to the board here. So we've got our minutes from us from the February 13th. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes? All right, everybody's read the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded to approve the minutes from February 13th, 2025. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. All right, new business, rezoning ordinance number 2025-2003, the Pippins. Madam Director?
All righty. Good evening, guys.
Evening.
So this first application that we have here, it is for ordinance number 2025-03 for rezoning. The request is from agricultural 7.5 to agricultural 5. This parcel is owned by Mr. Pippins. It is located on Mud Lake Road, about a mile south of County Road 125. It is a 10-acre parcel. The current land use is agricultural B. The current zoning is agricultural 7.5. The parcel is currently in compliance with all current zoning standards. However, the applicant's intention is to build a smaller garage apartment now to reside in temporarily and while they build a traditional site-built home for future use. Normally, that would be allowed if it was, if it was kind of backwards and they already have a site-built home there, they could build some sort of garage apartment down the road without having to go through a process. But the garage apartment is of a size that we would consider it a dwelling at this point. So that is why the request is to go to agricultural 5 so that it could support 2 dwellings at the time that he gets ready to build his traditional site-built home. So you'll see everything immediately around the parcel is zoned that agricultural zone B and agriculture 7.5. There is close to the property some lower density pockets, but most of the surrounding parcels are very similar. So the applicant's request again is to go from Ag 7.5 to Ag 5. Would have the same uses and similar lot requirements with a very minimal change in density. And again, the parcel now is currently in compliance. This is just in preparation for that second home in the future. And staff recommends approval.
Okay, so I got a question for you if you don't mind.
Sure.
So I'm going to build a site-built home. Fantastic, great, and whoever the applicant is, congratulations. Yeah. But when they go to get financing for the home, is there going to be any conflict with the bank saying there's already an existing dwelling?
So,
Because you can't have two domiciles on a single piece of property.
but you can. You can have two residents on one piece of property.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
All
They'll
right,
do a new appraisal at that time.
okay.
Yeah.
Created as a
yeah.
second property.
All right then, okay.
Yeah, and
I just don't want them to get into a mix, because like when I built my home, I had to have the double wide that I had on there, I had to have it moved off before they would
Right.
grant us any money to do the construction. So I don't want these guys to end
Right,
up in
and
the same
that's
thing.
that's part of the intention to going to that 5-acre zoning. With this being a 10-acre parcel, it would be able to support two
Mm-hmm. All right,
dwellings.
just
So that
making
wouldn't be
sure
an
we're doing
issue.
due diligence.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Anything from the board?
And the
Do
property
you
owners
have a plan
Yeah, I got the plan.
and setbacks and all, or?
Yes. So, and that's actually how we got here. Is when Mr. Pippins turned in his plans for the garage apartment. That's when this conversation started, and we've already looked at the site plan and things like that to make sure that it meets all of the setbacks and all other requirements.
And then he'll have the same thing on the other parcel when he goes to build the home.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll get an updated site plan
Yep.
and
I just don't want him to box himself into a corner.
right.
It's gonna be shared access, one driveway? Yeah.
It actually wouldn't be two parcels though, right?
No, it would not. It's all going to be on one parcel.
Okay, I'm not gonna split it.
Okay. All right, any other questions from the board?
No.
You have any other questions?
I don't. I was just going to say the property owner is here. If you
Do
have,
you have any questions for us? Okay. All right, so what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve rezoning Ag 7.5 to Ag 5, ordinance number 2025-03.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 2025-03, rezoning from Ag 7.5 to Ag 5. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
So I will apologize ahead of time. The first three applications are all three zoning requests from Ag 7.5 to Ag 5. So if it sounds like I'm being repetitive, in a way I am.
But is there, and to that point, that's something I was going to ask earlier. Is this something that could be done administratively, or why does it have to come before the
So
board?
it's not something that can be done administratively. All three of these, bottom line, are the same request, but they all three are very different situations with very different requests. So it would be nice if that was the case. But
Okay.
we do have three very different situations.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, next.
All right. The next is for ordinance number 2025-04, a rezoning request from agricultural 7.5 to agriculture 5. This parcel is owned by Miss Cynthia Robertson. It is off of Fred Perry Road. It's currently a 10-acre parcel. No, I am sorry. That is no. The PowerPoint is wrong. It is a 6.45 acre parcel. I knew that didn't look right. So this parcel is currently what we would call legally non-conforming. So this parcel existed prior to current standards. So therefore, it's kind of grandfathered in. It's been allowed to stay, this way without any issues. They are looking to give a family lot for a family member in the very near future. So in order to do that, they have to be a conforming lot and not considered legally non-conforming. So when you change any sort of parcel that's grandfathered in, you lose that status. So we are trying to remedy that before we get there. So I know we've talked before, all of the agricultural zoning districts do allow family lots. So going from Ag 7.5 to Ag 5, they would still be allowed within that zoning district to give a family lot to a family member. So this would be twofold. It would bring the parcel into compliance with all current standards and allow them to give a family lot in the future. You can see everything around this parcel, everything surrounding it, has the same land use and zoning. It is all agriculture, Zone B and agriculture 7.5.
It looks like several of those are non-conforming.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of those in that area
We gotta
are.
come to that.
They were either created prior to current standards, or they were created by some sort of family lot or inherited property. So again, the request would result with many of the same uses and similar lot requirements with a very minimal change in density. And it would bring the parcel into compliance as well as giving the flexibility for a family lot. And staff does recommend approval.
Yeah. Comments from the board?
Same issue.
Okay. Any comments from the applicant? Ms. Ladonna? Any Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see it.
I have found when we talk to people, a lot of them are here, but they, most of the time, the applicants do not wish to speak unless they have to.
But I do want to say thank you guys for showing up
Yes.
and participating. And we're gonna be going through our comp plan and all of that this year. So I would encourage you guys to come, get involved, get your neighbors involved, come up here, learn how we want to manage and grow the county. So as we go through the comp plan and our workshops, please do come up and attend that. All right, hearing no other comments, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve ordinance number 2025-04 rezoning.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 2025-04, rezoning Ag 7.5 to Ag 5. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, ma'am.
All right, and my last repetitive application here. This is for ordinance number 2025-08, a rezoning request from agriculture 7.5 to agriculture 5. This parcel is owned by Mr. and Mrs. Patterson. It is off of Mud Lake, but on the opposite end of Mud Lake from where we were looking at just a moment ago. This is a 5-acre parcel. It has a current land use of agriculture B and a current zoning of agriculture 7.5. This parcel was created in 2007, which was after our comp plan was initiated. So it was after zoning standards. And it's currently vacant and would be considered non-conforming. I will say that this property has been split from family property, but the proper process was not, they didn't go through the proper process in 2007, so that's why we're here now. The proposed zoning would bring the parcel into compliance and allow them to build a site-built home or place a mobile home on the property. So you can see from the land use and zoning maps here, this area kind of is a mixture of lot sizes and land use and zoning categories. So immediately touching the parcel is agriculture B and Ag 7.5, but there are some very low density residential and RCMH 2.5, as well as some Ag A and Ag 10 to the north. And then this last slide here, you will see just in the very corner of the parcel, it does touch the FEMA flood zone there. So anytime the flood zone touches the parcel, we just like to show that information. Again, the applicant's request would result in same uses, similar lot requirements, and a minimal change in density. And the proposed zoning would bring the parcel into compliance with current zoning standards. And staff does recommend approval. And the property owners are here as well if you have any questions for them.
Comments from the board?
No comments or questions?
Nope.
Comments from the applicant? No? Okay. Thank you. All right, so what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve ordinance number 2025-08 rezoning.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 2025-08 rezoning from Ag 7.5 to Ag 5 to make this a conforming lot. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. approved.
So do you see what I mean now?
Yeah.
On the surface, they look the same, but three very different situations.
All right, for those of you that were here for these hearings, you can stay for the last one that we have and some of our discussion, or you're welcome to leave, entirely your choice. Just want to respect your time. All right, ma'am, back to you.
All right, so this is our last application, and it's something that we do not see very often. So this last application is for a subdivision replat. This is for a portion of Block 5 of Kyler Field. The applicant and agent is Mr. Lateef. This parcel is 11.6 acres. It is actually all of these together here. You're going to see that a little better in just a moment. So it's actually these 6 parcels together. The current land use is very low density residential, and the current zoning is residential conventional 1, which is the entire subdivision is zoned that way. So back in 1992, the Kyler Field subdivision was platted. At that time, Block 5 remained as a whole, as so did Block 4. It was noted on the plat that Block 4 and Block 5 will be reserved for future use to develop lots of 1 acre or more. And it was just simply put on the plat that way. It wasn't broken out in any way. So the intention of the applicant is to subdivide this portion of Block 5 into 6 residential lots, all containing 1 acre or more. So they meet the parameters that were laid out on that original plat. So you'll see from the land use and zoning here, everything in the subdivision is that same land use and zoning. So you'll see here is the original plat, and it was just simply stated on there for future development. So this is the applicant's proposal here for the 6 tracts. You will see that they are already split out on the property appraiser's map. Mr. Lateef had started this process, and there were some miscommunications, and he had everything surveyed, and he went to the property appraiser's office, and they had these tracts created for taxing purposes. So we are now here to finish that process. He is here if you have any questions for him as to to how we got here. So like I said, it was originally platted in 92. It'll be 6 residential lots, all of 1 acre or more. They really vary from 1.9 acres to 2 acres. So we feel that it's consistent with the original intention of the plat, and it definitely meets the character of the area. So staff does recommend approval. Like I said, the property owner is here if you have questions for him.
Is the original plat what they're still planning on doing today? The 6 lots the way they are? Or are we
Yes,
changing
yes. So
that?
that's how it was split out at the
That's how it's
property
gonna stay.
appraiser's office, and that is how it's going to. That is the intention.
And he's
yes.
already paying taxes on 6 lots.
Yes, yes.
Which brings up a good point that, we got Midpoint Commons down there, and we talked on this back in January. And then again, February, we need to talk about subdivision, setback requirements and everything else for this new board, so they understand what the requirements are. So we've got an objective list. Yes, this was done in, what'd you say, 92?
It was.
yeah.
The original plat was done in
So
92.
now it's come full circle, it's going to move forward. But so we've got a list, and that's what I'd like to see us do as the board, is have these workshops, especially on subdivision, setback requirements and things like that. That may stay with the city, that may get kicked up to the county. That's anybody's guess, I have no
Right.
idea. But I want us to be prepared.
Right.
is my point. Okay. All right, any other questions, comments from the board?
No questions, comments?
All right, sir. But do you agree with what I'm saying, LaDonna?
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
absolutely.
Just the right ordinance number that's marked out.
I was gonna ask, what's the ordinance number?
So we get in the habit of sticking an ordinance with everything, and a replat,
Does not require that.
because the plat itself is recorded, it does not require an ordinance. So we had assigned an ordinance number and started down that avenue, and I said, wait a minute, we don't need an ordinance for this. So we kind of stepped back and punted.
Okay.
Okay, so what's the pleasure of the board for the application subdivision replat for preliminary and final development plan review?
Motion to approve replat.
Okay. So motion to approve and seconded the subdivision replat for preliminary and final development plan review from Mr. Rami Latif, dated March 13th, 2025. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Okay. And that is it for me. Did we ask for public comment on that one?
Oh, I did not. I'm very sorry. I did it for the other three.
Yeah.
Would the applicant like to say anything? Sorry, I didn't ask. I was just pushing right through. All right. Thank you. My apologies. All right. That's it for business. Okay.
So unless we had any other public comment, you guys are good to go, unless you want to stay for the boring part.
Y'all have a good night.
Thank you.
Yep. Enjoy the beautiful weather. Good to see you too, dear. Yeah, when everybody showed up, I thought there was going to be a fight on that one.
You must have had them. On that one? Yeah. Oh, I thought so.
You're welcome. You guys have a good evening. Hey, make sure you guys bring everybody back when we start going through the comp plan.
Yes, you're very welcome.
Have a good
Y'all have a good
day.
evening.
Y'all be safe going home. You kind of clear room, huh?
Exactly, man.
Yeah. But they have a very tight knit community. So
Yeah.
whether it's good or bad, they stick together. So
Yeah, the only thing I would caution you on, so we had one of their applicants come up some time ago, and his lot was short by like 11 feet, and we had to give him a variance.
right.
So just make sure that, I mean, you said they're between 1.9 and 2 acres, so I don't think there'll be a
Shouldn't
problem.
have an issue,
Yeah,
but-
shouldn't have. an
Right.
issue.
And they
Right.
look
Everybody gets one.
Proportionate.
Yeah.
They are. They're very proportionate, and they're wide enough to really do, not have any sort of setback issues.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So is there any scenario?
Well, here, public meetings closed, now we're open for
Okay,
board discussion.
very well. Okay, is there any scenario where bringing a lot to conformance, is there any scenario where we would disagree with that?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is definitely some areas. So sometimes you have residents that may ask for forgiveness instead of permission.
Right.
So sometimes we have some situations that are created that are not ideal, and they don't necessarily match the density around the area and things like that. There are definitely situations that
Yeah.
we would not be open-minded to it.
Or
all-
that there was word of mouth given. An example would be like there was a subdivision that was quote unquote approved back 10, 15 years ago on Reed Stafford Road. And the guy came in after the county had gone to him several times. A bunch of back and forth between his attorney and the county and everything else. because he was trying to put in subdivisions there off of Reed Stafford, off of an old verbal agreement, handshake, whatever, with whoever, and it came before us, and we denied it because it didn't meet the new standards.
Okay.
Closer,
So
closer
if
to 125?
Hmm?
On the end, closer to 125?
Yeah, right there in the dirt road section, yeah.
so if a property, for example, was grandfathered in, whatever they did on their property now doesn't conform to like whatever they
Generally,
really
it
built a
would-
racetrack on it, and they're trying
Yeah.
to like
Mm-hmm.
go whatever, and we're like that would be grounds for
Yeah, and where
So
this,
then we just accept that, hey, this is a non-conforming lot.
Absolutely. So, like
Indefinitely
with all
until-
three of these first applications, you've seen they were only rezonings. They were not land use changes as well. So that's kind of one thing that signifies that you're going to get very similar uses. If it doesn't require a land use change as well, that normally means they're in the same category. So those land use changes is when you really begin to see large changes in what could be done on the
Okay.
property.
That's where we know
So-
more discussion.
and so
Yeah.
towards that end, to help these guys along, can we get, well, I know I sent you those subdivision requirements and you said there was some new stuff. I haven't seen any of that come back yet.
So we're still we're talking back and forth with the people who are helping us work through our.
So do we
ears
have an
submittal and
ETA
stuff.
on that?
I
We're
can't
March,
say that I do.
1/4's over. We
So
got-
right, and
6
that's
months left.
and that's something that we're gonna be doing this over the next year to 18 months. It's not necessarily a fast process when we're talking back and forth.
Okay, I understand that, but I'm just concerned, we got Blair Nursery, we got this down here at Midpoint Commons, and if that thing jumps the fence over there and comes towards us, then we haven't educated the board here, and we're gonna be, for lack of a better word, caught with our pants down
Yeah,
on some of that.
The biggest thing I can suggest is for everybody to just familiarize.
But that's why I
themselves.
sent those out and said, this is what I've got, and you said, oh, no, we got much more current stuff, so can you share that with
I
everybody
can,
here?
I
So
can,
these
and
guys,
that's-
because I think his question is, where do we make the call? Where's the objective checklist of that, yes, this is non-conforming and we'll accept this, or no, it won't? I think that's,
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think
Part
that
of where
there
you're
is a checklist for that. I think it is a case-by-case situation. There's not a checklist.
but there's still
that
got to be
says-
policy and guidelines.
Right, there is, but you're talking about subdivision policy and guidelines. He's talking about non-conforming lots, when we will
Yeah,
or
well,
won't.
okay.
You
No,
know,
I'll
they're-
I think what
give
you
you-
were asking was really the second one.
for the rezonings,
The-
right?
The 6.5
right,
acre parcel that's
Right.
on 7.5.
Exactly.
right.
It's already non-conforming. Why would you not approve
Yeah.
to make it a conforming lot?
Right, right. And
I
in
can't think
those,
of a reason or
those are
situation
those
where
are
we
really
haven't
case
approved
by
those.
case situations, and so that's why we look at why it's legally non-conforming. Like in this case, it was created prior to, and it has remained that way this entire time. Now,
And you see there's a lot of those.
there
So
there
we
is
really need
there
to go
there
over
really
and
is
say,
Yes.
anything that's non-conforming really needs to be
Right.
changed to Ag 5.
right.
We just didn't used to have Ag 5.
Right.
That was the
Well,
problem.
another.
And
really
Ag
have
5
ag.
was created because people were selling off lots that were 5 acres.
Right.
And then they
Right.
were stuck
Having to
with
get
it.
approval every time.
And prior
And they're
to
still
that,
having to do it.
there was
Correct.
Really
no
late.
zoning
It is.
district between RCMH 2.5 and
So-
Ag 7.5, and that's a big stretch. So all of those 5-6 acre parcels,
Yes.
there was you had to put them down to residential, and then you go into a land use change as well. You're going from an agricultural land use to a residential land use, and so a lot of those agricultural activities would not be allowed in those residential zonings.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess my issue every time, and I think like Gabe's as well whenever this comes up, is like tonight, one of the three is a good example of where there's real, like, if we view our job as the LPA is to look at the request and see if it aligns with the county guidance, like at least one of them did not, right? They're
Yeah.
like, there's no good justification other than like, hey, it makes sense for the person, like,
Let's talk about that. Which one are you talking about?
so we're, which one was it?
On the other end of Mud Lake?
Going from 7.5 to 5.
Yeah.
On
So
the-
that was a 5-acre parcel
Right.
that was created from one family member to another.
Right.
And if they would have went through the family lot process back in 2007,
Yeah.
Was that the Rollerson?
no, that was
No.
the,
Number 1.
Number 1, Pippins.
Pippins.
oh, the Pippins. Okay, so that's,
I think so. Let me.
so Pippins is the one to allow 2 dwellings, the garage
Exactly,
apartment.
yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So our current code, we allow garage apartments and guest quarters. But
There's a square footage
they,
requirement, right?
there is a square footage requirement, and the garage apartment and the guest quarters come after the primary dwelling. So one of the requirements for those guest quarters is it has to be fed off of the same meter as the primary residence. So in that situation, he's wanting to build a garage with, with essentially an apartment or guest quarters inside of it. But he can't meet those parameters for how we define guest quarters because there is not already a primary residence there. If he already had a primary residence and came and brought the same application, it may have been allowed without any sort of process, if he was able to meet those parameters.
Right. I guess the issue is now that it results in us rezoning when.
What I see in the future
Yeah.
is more than likely, you got 10 acres, now it's on 2 5-acre lots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not, he didn't split it. He's not
Right.
splitting it
He
now.
didn't
And-
split it, but
But
the-
next time he comes, it's gonna be hard to tell him he can't split it because he's got 2 5-acre lots
Correct.
on a 5-acre piece.
We'd set a precedent.
The
Yeah,
only
and now
thing,
he can put that garage and the house on 1 5-acre lot and build another house behind it. And we don't really have
so
a
he
leg
would
to
have
stand
to
on.
meet the requirements for guest quarters for it to be on the same 5-acre piece as the primary residence. And if this piece of property had been ever split before, when he tried to split it into 2 5-acre tracts, it would trigger the subdivision process, and that other 5-acre piece would not be considered buildable until they went through some sort of
yeah,
subdivision
assuming that there
process.
was a split before, but if there wasn't, right now he could technically build a 5-acre house on that 1 5-acre tract, and then keep the garage or the apartment on the other.
Then he would be making that 5-acre tract non-conforming because he couldn't have 2 dwellings on it.
It's not split right now.
No,
He's
I know it's
trying to
not.
Split it.
Right, but
And he said
even
he's not trying to split it, but
Right.
even
But
if
if he did try to in the future, he'd have to come back.
yeah,
When
even if
people
he
are doing this, they're thinking
Yeah.
way down the road.
yeah,
they're
even
thinking-
if
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
If
done,
it was me doing it, I'm putting them both on the same 5 acres, so I can come back and do something else with the
Yeah,
other
I'm
5
leaving
Yes.
leeway too, so
Hmm?
you'd leave that back.
Right.
yeah,
Case
exactly.
build. I need to sell it one day, and somebody else can build a house. on it,
right.
Which I
If
don't
that
have a
was the
problem
case,
with, but I
if that
think-
was the case,
No, but
if one
that's-
of those were to ever be destroyed, they could not be replaced.
Right.
If they came in to get permits to make repairs on one, they wouldn't be. There would be.
But this is us looking forward as a board,
Right.
looking around the corner, anticipating what might happen.
right.
Yes, everything gets approved on its own merit for the application that gets submitted, because none of us are soothsayers, we can't see the future.
Right.
But, we do need to be cognizant of what's in front of us, and what could potentially come of it.
Right.
Just like you were saying, because I would leave myself that out as well.
Yeah.
Anybody, most anybody would.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does next month look like?
So, I will tell you, next month we do have a very hefty agenda.
Okay,
We have several rezoning applications, as well as an exemption to subdivision. And
see, and that's gonna get tricky.
a rezoning that the intention is to create a subdivision in the future. So asking for the rezoning entitlements now.
So that said, what do we have that we can share with the board to say, okay, they're asking for an exemption from a subdivision requirement, so that means they're wanting to put in a subdivision, but they want to be exempt from some rule on that.
Yeah,
Be it a
they're-
road, be it
Right.
whatever it may be.
Yeah, lot.
So I can send you the breakdown of the subdivision requirements and the exemption to subdivision requirements so that you can see what exactly it exempts them from.
That would be good. The exemptions as well as the subdivision requirements.
Right.
That way we've got a month to get ready, get up to speed. If we've got questions that we can reach out and ask you beforehand.
Right.
Instead of getting here the night of and saying, okay, now I got my packet and I gotta make a ruling.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Perfect.
And then EAR, when are we gonna start on that? Because you gotta submit that, what, in 2 weeks?
So the actual letter of intent, I have to submit by April the 1st.
Yeah.
And then once that letter of intent is submitted, that's when we formally start.
Formally, yeah, but
Start
I
that
mean, we were
process,
trying to get
yeah.
ahead of it, but it is what it is. So we'll submit that on the 1st. So do we want to do any workshops? Or we're just going to do it as course of business?
So
That gives us what, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. That gives us 6 months to get that thing updated
so
in 1 hour meetings.
no, we'll have 1 year from the time we submit it. So we'll have until.
Okay. Yeah, but
it's a-
generally, by the time Halloween hits, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, nothing happens here, really.
Right, but when we're working with a third party, we're
Yeah, but
at
we
their
don't have to
mercy
wait on them
too.
for everything. I'm saying there's some things, because back in February, we put together a list,
Right.
said here are things that we want to work on. So there's other things we can work on while you're working in parallel with the third party.
We can, but we just want to make sure that those two things align. If it's something that we've already,
Well, then
we've
if
already
if
tackled
it's
with
something you
them.
got the third party working on, we'll just set that one aside and
Yeah. So
tackle something
the
else.
intention is for them to be here and have some workshops with us as well.
Oh,
So
okay,
they're-
that was not clear to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought that was
No,
thought that was
I didn't get
understood.
that. I thought that was staff and the third party, you guys were
no.
working separately.
Their intention is to have public workshops with us.
Okay,
Yeah.
I did not get that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys, questions?
No questions.
So
All right.
in the meantime, though, I will send those, the subdivision requirements as
Yeah.
well as the subdivision exemption
Yes,
information,
please.
so that you guys can
Yeah,
have that to.
because that
To
would help
compare.
us for the
great.
agenda
It would.
for
It would help us
April.
for this
And it
upcoming.
would also kind of familiarize us if one of these other things pop off.
Was
Right.
there anything else tricky for next month? Or was it about off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, we do have the exemption to subdivision, and then the rezoning that is for potential subdivision. It is one parcel, but they are looking at some different zoning categories. So I won't say that it's anything tricky, but you will see one parcel that they're looking for some smaller residential lots as well as some larger lots.
So I would say for the board, when we get this documentation, look at those subdivision requirements, and with the eye that, let's just, and I know it sounds like I'm beating a dead horse, but with the eye that maybe Midpoint Commons comes over here. And so look at the lot width, and, that, the other thing that we haven't really discussed as the LPA is water use or water consumption as part of subdivisions. I think I sent you an email on that. Maybe I didn't.
Yeah, so,
But, because if we're saying, oh, everybody's going to go on a private well because there's not city capacity,
which
just,
that's gonna go by the zoning that's inside the subdivision as well.
Correct.
Some of those smaller density zonings will require municipal water and sewer.
Yeah.
You know.
But I'm just saying that as you go through those requirements and exemptions to the requirements, also look and say, okay, how would I want a subdivision to look like in the future for the county? Do we want to concentrate all the growth in like one area and keep all the green space? Or do we want to have these really big lots and have, 1 acre tracts thrown all over the county? Something like that.
When is the last time the subdivision requirements and exemption was updated?
They were updated in 2020.
Okay.
There were minimal changes in 2020, but that's the last
And how do
time
you go
that.
about having it updated? Workshops and
So that's part of
What we're
the
fixing to do this
part of the EAR report that he
Comp
was
plan.
just talking
Yes.
about. So it's every 3 years we have to submit essentially a letter to the state saying whether we feel our comp plan and LDRs need to be updated. And that letter of intent is really just yes, we need to update, or no, we don't. And then once you submit that letter, if you say yes, you have to update, you have a certain time frame to make whatever changes you want to make. So you can make those up. You can
That's
say
where we're at.
yes and not actually, only change certain areas. So that's what we're looking at. That decision is made every 3 years whether it needs
And
to
like
be.
the last time we made it, we started it, but then there was a deadline that we weren't aware of, so we ran out of contractor dollars for the person who was leading us through it, and was like, okay, we got to shut this off and get it transmitted to the state. And then we said we
what
would.
process does it go through? It comes to the board just like this, and then to the commissioners. Was it
So
approved by staff? How does that work?
a little bit of both. So as staff, we kind of work hand in hand, with whatever entity we're contracting with. You don't have to contract any of it out. It can be done internally by staff. And if we had a full-time person that was their only job, that would be all well and good. But
We don't.
We don't.
we don't. And two, like my concern would be for, let's say me, I'm the one updating. There's every year we have so much legislation that comes down, and these companies, they stay on top of that legislation to make sure that we meet every single parameter that comes down. So there are updates that need to be done that have nothing to do with land use or zoning. They're legislative
They're just
updates that have to
legislative
go in
updates
there.
that-
They've changed a particular verbiage. You can't use this phrase. You have to use this phrase. Things like that. So they really cover all of those bases for us, and then we kind of really get down into the meat of our day-to-day, month-to-month changes. And we go back and forth with them, but it is at the end of the day approved by you guys and by commission. Everybody gets to look at it ideally before it's submitted.
And my reason for the outreach to the community was because, something will get approved by us as a board and the county commissioners, and then somebody comes forward with an application. We approve it because we already set the parameters for approving that.
Right.
And then the community shows up with pitchforks and lanterns and hatchets, and they're like, oh my God, what's going on? But engage the community, come in, listen, participate in the discussion as we build a vision for our future.
Right. When I send the subdivision requirements and the exemption requirements, I'll also send the land use and zoning categories so that you can kind of read through and kind of wrap your mind around those different land uses and what would be allowed in them, and because each zoning category breaks down what's allowed by right and what's allowed by special exception or limited notice, things like that. So some of those categories have something that you are allowed to do, but you have to ask permission first. So it really lays those out.
And this third party, do they have any training aids or anything that they could share with us, or no?
I'm honestly, I'm not sure. I can ask.
Okay.
I can ask and see. outside of public workshops, if there's any other sort of
Yeah.
training or assistance that. Because you don't know if you don't ask.
Exactly. If we could take advantage of that, two birds with one
Right,
stone.
right. If it's something we're already,
Yeah, might
already
be.
partnering on, absolutely. So anything else? Anything else specifically that you want to see and look at in the meantime?
We send them one of our family law provision applications, just so
That's good too, yeah.
Because y'all hear that a lot.
So we talk a lot about family lots, and there's more than one type of family lot, so it may be good for you guys to look at those applications as well.
In the case of the 5 acre, 6 acre parcel, 6.5, that they wanted to change to 5 and add a family lot later on, what is the minimum requirement of the family lot, 1 acre?
It's 1 acre. It
That's what I
has to be
thought.
at least 1 acre, but they can give more than 1 acre.
That's what I thought.
And did you compile all the notes out of our workshop last time and send us anything back out on that, saying, here's what we talked about, and then,
I didn't. I have all of my notes that I can
because
put
we
together
talked
and
about
send you
solar
some
fields,
notes.
agritourism, variances, lot sizes, well, that's all tied up in the subdivision stuff.
What was it?
Roads.
Meeting minutes, I don't know. that
Yeah,
have
there's
the
just,
minutes. Yeah,
there's just a
just
blurb in
touch.
here,
Yeah.
but nothing to say, here's what we talked about, and here's what we prioritized out of that meeting. It just says we talked about it. But if we could take those prioritized notes, and say, okay, here's what we want to work on for when the EAR kicks off, that way we've got a roadmap.
Yeah, we can do that.
I'll tell you something I saw today. I had a meeting today for work, and we sat in a meeting, it was with a builder. And she said, do you mind if I record this meeting? It's an AI device.
Was it like a
And
talk to text type
no,
thing?
It just sat on the table. We had a meeting for probably an hour and a half, and at the end of the meeting, she sent me an email, and it had summarized
Yeah.
everything that we talked about, like to a T. Every day, and it had it categorized, like
Dang.
new chapter. This is where we talked about new builds. This is where we talked about
Yeah,
remodels. And it just went all the way down the list. And it had which speaker you could tell it what speaker was speaking, and it would say Jared said this. So it's
Really?
yeah,
it's pretty
because
neat. First time I
I
ever saw it.
used some of that with FWC, because I volunteer for them, and they call it Read AI or something.
Yeah.
So we'll have a presentation.
$150. She said I can't remember the name of it. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty
unfortunately,
interesting.
we had a meeting a couple months back, and we had a similar situation, but they had just pulled out their phone and they were trying to do like a talk to text, and unfortunately, it is very inaccurate.
Yeah.
Especially, we all have
I mean, even
some
with
sort
people
of
talking
accent,
over each
you
other,
know.
just like they it's still.
It was still
It
picking
took-
it up.
put everything in order,
Yeah.
just
Huh.
like it happened.
Very cool.
There's no more.
No
Hey, what
more.
y'all talk about, and then you forget half of it.
Yeah.
Here,
That's-
I'll
that's
send you the email.
interesting.
This is everything we talked about. It's
Yeah.
kind of like putting the minutes
Or
together
you-
for you.
Yeah.
That's what it would do.
Exactly. That's what it would do, because right after the call, then you can email out the
Huh.
discussion.
Might be worth looking into.
I was gonna
I'll
say,
shoot you
that
the email.
sounds-
Kind of
that sounds like it's
Instead of
worth
having to
the
sit there on the
investment.
tape and go,
Yeah.
what'd he say? Back
Yes,
up.
please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find that in the budget.
Yeah, because poor Miss Julie, she's there doing the minutes
Yeah.
the day or a couple of days after our meeting, and every time the phone rings, she's gotta go back 2 minutes and restart it.
I guess that's it. Guys, anything else? Let us know if Gabe's okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he ever
Okay.
texted back. I will be next week at Rural Counties Day.
Okay, cool.
So
I got a big pine
if-
cone if you want to take.
yeah, if you're not familiar with Rural Counties Day, it is held in the courtyard of the Capitol each year, and it's comprised of all the different rural counties, just like us. And every county kind of sets up a booth, and you present what what your county has, what's your attraction. And unfortunately, the last couple of years, our county, it was.
Do best in Baker. That's coming
We
up.
had a tablecloth with a table, so we're working on that, and we're gonna really emphasize Shoals Park when we go this
Awesome.
year. So it's very neat. If you don't have anything to do next Thursday and you feel like making the drive to Tallahassee, you're more than welcome
Ooh,
to
that would be an
more than
idea.
welcome to join us. It's very neat, and they're in legislative session right now, so all of those hot topic items, everybody's going to be there talking about them, and
Yeah,
so
everybody's
you
clamoring for money.
you can kind of bend your representatives' ears if necessary. So
Yeah,
They
see,
put it all in,
right there, communication channel, blah, 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 summary construction.
gives you an overview.
That's
It would basically
awesome.
say, it looks just like this after you
Really?
split it
Yeah.
out.
really,
And say,
You said
Yes, that would be very nice, because then you can focus on the.
I'll find out what it was.
Yeah.
It says like $150.
Yeah,
That's
Huh.
not bad at all.
because
Yeah.
then you
To
can
be honest
focus
with you,
on
they
the
probably got a match for
discussion
it, but yeah.
instead of, okay, who's taking notes, minutes.
right. Well, and especially when you have a meeting where you might have 5 or 6 people
Thank you.
in there, I can see where that would be very useful.
Yes.
I mean, it's just
Very
communication.
useful.
And I'm just gonna throw it out here for a plug. April 19th, I think it is,
Bad self and talked about exactly.
is the river cleanup, so if you
So
guys.
April 19th.
I believe it's April 19th. I'll confirm that for you, give me a
Then it
sec.
gives you action items at the bottom.
Yes.
Thing you talked about with action
I've
items.
seen that. And that's where the rubber hits the road.
Also, March the 29th is our community resource fair. So I don't know if you guys have any interest. Greg, I know you last year kind of manned a booth for
Yeah.
the board. So if there's any interest in kind of having a booth for the board, you guys just let me know and we can make sure that
That would be
happens.
good. I'm gonna be representing the Riverkeeper this year.
Are you
Yeah.
gonna be there with them? Okay.
But if you need to put some stuff on the table,
At the very least, we can put out some
yeah.
information with you there. Sounds good.
Well, I don't know why my
March
calendar.
29th.
It's March 29th. If you have Little League players, it is the same as opening day.
It
So,
is. I knew I had something. It
yep,
wasn't on my
yep.
calendar.
So we were competing with Easter and spring break and prom, and unfortunately, opening day was on the bottom of our list. And so when we got to picking dates, it was the only date left that was not.
Yes, river cleanup is April 19th.
Okay. So that is Easter weekend, because Easter is the 20th, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And it's always around Earth Day. That's kind of why it falls at. And have you heard, completely off topic, well, we've already adjourned, but have you heard anything back from the trails team? You know, when they came out here, the paddle trails and the hiking trails? I know me and Greg participated and a few other folks, and I wrote to Northeast Florida Council, but I haven't heard anything back from them. I don't know if they're still out doing their
I know
data gathering.
I know that we have that we've been selected as a project,
Cool.
but I'm not sure that I have any other detail other than that. I know
That's
we've
fine.
been selected, but as far as their
Okay.
parameters, when they're going to start, anything like that,
Yeah.
I haven't really heard any of
Well, I'll reach out to a couple
since
people
the-
I know over
since
there.
the last time they were here.
Yeah.
Yeah.